Part 3, Chapter 12. Knock, knock, knock. In our technological years, cameras and photoelectric elements often work in place of eyes, and microphones, tape recorders, and laser listening devices often replace ears. But for the entire epoch covered by this book, almost the only eyes and almost the only ears of the Cheka GB were stool pigeons. Without having the experience and without having thought the matter over sufficiently, it is difficult to evaluate the extent to which we are permeated and enveloped by stool pigeoning. Just as, without a transistor in hand, we do not sense in a field, in a forest, or on a lake that multitudes of radio waves are constantly pouring through us. It is difficult to school oneself to ask that constant question, who is the stool pigeon among us? In our apartment, in our courtyard, in our watch repair shop, in our school, in our editorial office, in our workshop, in our design bureau, and even in our police. It is difficult to school oneself, and it is repulsive to become schooled. But for safety one must. It is impossible to expel the stoolies or to fire them. They will recruit new ones. But you have to know them, sometimes in order to be aware of them, sometimes in order to beware of them, sometimes to put on an act in their presence, to pretend to be something you aren't, sometimes in order to quarrel openly with the informer, and this means devalue his testimony against you. The poetry of recruitment of stool pigeons still awaits its artist. There is a visible life, and there is an invisible life. The spider webs are stretched everywhere, and as we move we do not notice how they wind about us. Selecting tools available for recruitment is like selecting master keys. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1. Are you a Soviet person? Number 2 is to promise that which the person being recruited has fruitlessly sought by lawful means for many years. Number 3 is to bring pressure to bear on some weak point, to threaten a person with what he fears most of all. Number 4. You see, it only takes a tiny bit of pressure. A certain AG is called in, and it is well known that he is a nincompoop, and so to start he is instructed. Write down a list of the people you know who have anti-Soviet attitudes. He is distressed and hesitates. I'm not sure. He didn't jump up and didn't thump the table. How dare you? Who does in our country? Why deal in fantasies? Aha, so you are not sure. Then write a list of people you can guarantee are 100% Soviet people. But you are guaranteeing, you understand. If you provide even one of them with false references, you yourself will go to prison immediately. So, why aren't you writing? Well, I can't guarantee. Aha, you can't? That means you know they are anti-Soviet. So write down immediately the ones you know about. And so the good and honest rabbit, AG, sweats and fidgets and worries. He has too soft a soul, formed before the revolution. He has sincerely accepted this pressure which is bearing down on him. Write either that they are Soviet or that they are anti-Soviet. He sees no third way out. A stone is not a human being, and even stones get crushed. Though he was an enlightened and irreligious person, abbreviation U, discovered that the only defense against the security officers was to hide behind Christ. This was not very honest, but it was a sure thing. He lied. I must tell you frankly that I had a Christian upbringing, and therefore it is quite impossible for me to work with you. And that ended it, and all the lieutenant's chatter, which had by then lasted many hours, simply stopped. The lieutenant understood he had drawn a bad number. We need you like a dog needs 5 legs, he exclaimed petulantly. Give me a written refusal. Once again, written. And write just that, explaining about your damned God. Apparently they have to close the case of every informer with a separate piece of paper, just as they open it with one. The reference to Christ satisfied the lieutenant completely. None of the security officers would accuse him subsequently of failing to use every effort he could. And does the impartial reader not find that they flee from Christ like devils from a sign of the cross? from the bells calling to matins. And that is why our Soviet regime can never come to terms with Christianity. End of Part 3, Chapter 12.